So we have shy people here. So maybe maybe to start, I don't know. Maybe we won't have time for more questions, but just to emulate a bit that, as the session was focused on this French point of view of the different stakeholder in the different part of the different position of the value chain. I would have liked to ask you to all of you, the panelists, do you think, just as mentioned by Pierre, that we are reaching in France this common understanding of the different stakeholder in the value chain? How do you feel that data sovereignty is perceived by the different stakeholder? Do we have enough understanding on that in France? Because this is interesting to a viewpoint of view as a representative of end user IT provider, but also the research area, to have your viewpoint and how it is perceived in France, and is it enough? And yeah, maybe does anyone want to answer this one? Otherwise, I can maybe Anne-Sophie, as you have a lot of contact with companies, but also research player. How do you see it? How it is perceived in France, this concept?
So I think that the introduction of Alban and the first question was about the definition of sovereignty, and I think that now we are more and more on the common definition on what's sovereignty. And I think that Pierre also mentioned something very interesting, like localization doesn't mean sovereignty, and this is a key point. And this key point is more and more understood by the different actors in the economic sector in France. And as we have seen also with the use case coming from Veolia, there is also a strong move to be sovereign in the sense of being able to be independent, or to have the power on their data, and to be able to change, to have transparency, to move from one provider to another one, to one software to another one. So it's not a direct answer to your question, but I think that we here in France, in the activity, we have more and more the same comprehension of what's data sovereignty, and so what are the key aspects behind it, and what should be done. And it's a lot about around regulation, as was mentioned, and regulation not at the French level, but regulation at the European level with European values. So to answer, yes, and we have seen in this panel many examples coming from cloud service providers, or users, data providers, researchers, and the testimony also from Pierre, from all the members of ANRT, and the key aspects. So we've seen that in every domains we need it, and we start to have a common understanding about what's sovereignty and what's data sovereignty.
Thank you, Anne-Sophie. Philippe or Pierre, do you want to add something to that? I think that Veolia, for example, what is the feeling with your partner on that? Do you have anything that you can add about the perception of the feeling about data sovereignty and sovereignty in general in your ecosystem?
Yes, I can add that in fact all our data governance is more taken on the business side, you know, saying we have this huge amount of data. So how can we do more business with that? But on the other side, when we are looking to the risk related to this data, it's very dangerous because I would say even our top management is not fully aware about all this risk, and or sometimes they just overreact. You know, at one stage, for instance, we were on the point to forbid Google, but we have already left Microsoft. So what else? You know, for the email and the G Suite. So that's a complex subject because we have to find the right balance between this business opportunity and managing all this risk and to improve this sovereignty.
Thank you, Pierre. Do you want to add something? I can see that you activate your camera.
Maybe. Yes, it's been very well said today. There are technical aspects, and on this side, I would say we know how to do it. It has been very clear in the OVH testimony. It's not easy, but it's very feasible to preserve the sovereignty of one player against another. You can use encrypted data, you can use anonymization, you can use aggregated data, you can do homomorph whatsoever encryption. You can do many things and use the data anyway. So this is on the technical point. It's, I would say, most of the job is already done. The IDSA has worked a lot on this. For instance, you got your architecture, which is number, I don't know the version, maybe 3 or 4, of the architecture that can support this kind of data sharing. This is it. You got the part with the connector, which is a kind of a tool that allows a selected number of data to be processed through and shared because you have decided it. That was very important in the OVH presentation as well. Data sovereignty means you can take the decision about the data you feel you possess. Maybe you don't possess this completely, you possess it for a certain duration, for a specific use, but this is already very much in place. In addition to that, there is the IP level. In Europe, in particular, you got there are 2 ways to protect data sets. So this is important to be said. IP is there also to protect data sets, be it the sui generis law or because it's the aggregated and specifically done version of a data set. So on the part of on the legal aspect side, also in combination with technique, it's okay. Then there is, as very well explained by our colleague at Veolia, there is the economic side of it. I mean, when you say data is the new oil or the new fuel or the new gold, I think you are completely misleading people, so to speak, because it can become something like very valuable as long as you know on which part of the data you can intervene and create value. But most of the time, you want to be like Google. Any company would like to be Google and deal with all the data at any stage of the transformation. And this is specifically the case in the energy system, where everyone wants to do everything, so nobody cooperates with anyone. You don't share data because you want to do everything there is to be done with the data. But you can also adopt another perspective through which you concentrate your efforts, thanks to the technique, on the parts of the data that you can transform and modify and elaborate more and better than any other company on the domain. So this is possible. So it means a number of things can be done. And as well, I think I would come back to OVH's speech about the procurement, public procurement. It's very important that our policymakers are aware of the decisions they are taking. And when they say we want to rely on sovereign technology, on sovereign data. They have to go through till they walk the walk and just not say something. So it has to be said that we are not exactly exemplary in that, in France in particular, because we don't exactly know where our interest starts, when it stops. So we got a lot of work to do on this aspect. And it's exactly the same one as the one when we talk about companies. Which part of the data is usable, is valuable to us because of the position we got in the value chain. So this is important. Thank you very much.